Okay, let's unpack this. Here's a mind blower for you. 99.9% of South Korea's population is online.
Wow.
Practically everyone's connected. But get this, the digital landscape there isn't dominated by the usual suspects like Google and Meta.
Not at all.
So for you trying to crack this seriously plugged-in market, understanding who does rule the roost is absolutely critical. That's the mission of this deep dive.
And what's fascinating right off the bat is just how different the Korean digital world is. Globally, we often think Google for search, Meta for social, standard playbook.
Right.
But in South Korea, two homegrown giants, Naver and Kakao, they hold that sway. It's a fundamental difference. You can't ignore it.
Exactly. Think of this as your express lane to understanding how to really resonate with Korean online users. We're diving deep into Naver and Kakao. Consider them your essential toolkit for unlocking the Korean digital advertising landscape, especially if you're a global business looking to make waves there.
Yeah.
We've been looking at the must-know info about succeeding in this market, and it all keeps pointing back to the power of Naver and Kakao ads.
If we connect this to a real-world scenario, it's kind of like imagine trying to navigate a bustling Seoul street without knowing any Korean or having a map.
Right, you'd be lost.
You might eventually find your way, but it'll be a whole lot easier and frankly more effective if you know the language and the layout. That's the role Naver and Kakao play for digital marketing in Korea.
Okay, good analogy.
Right.
All right, let's get into the first heavyweight then. Naver. Picture this. If Google search met YouTube's video power, and maybe threw in a dash of Yahoo's portal features,
Yeah, that's pretty close.
you'd have something like Naver. It's Korea's top search engine, no question, but it's also this huge online hub where people do pretty much everything.
Everything.
Reading blogs, watching videos, catching up on news, shopping online, hanging out in community forums, all sorts of stuff.
And it's this incredibly diverse ecosystem that, creates so many different avenues for advertising.
Makes sense.
Because users are moving through so many different types of content within Naver, brands have multiple chances, multiple touch points to connect with them.
So how do you actually get your message seen on Naver? Like, what are the ad types?
Okay, yeah.
Well, first off, you've got search ads. Pretty self-explanatory.
Oh, Google Ads, basically.
Exactly, like Google Ads. These pop up in the search results when someone types in relevant keywords. They're mostly text-based.
Yeah.
And really focused on driving clicks and ultimately conversions.
So for businesses really focused on hitting specific performance goals, like getting direct responses, Naver search ads are a logical starting point.
Right.
They connect with users at that precise moment they're actively looking for something.
Then we have power content ads. Now, these are where things get interesting, I think.
Yeah, these are different.
They're designed to feel like they naturally belong on the platform, looking a lot like regular blog posts, but, they're actually paid placements.
Right.
Think in-depth storytelling, genuine-sounding reviews, almost like influencer content, but you're in control.
And what's particularly effective in Korea with power content ads is using Naver's cafe communities.
Cafe?
Yeah. Brands that genuinely participate in these communities and create power content that actually addresses community needs or interests.
Yeah.
They see much higher engagement than just like purely promotional stuff. It's about adding value in those trusted spaces.
Okay, that's a good tip. Now, for all the e-commerce folks out there, Naver offers shopping search ads.
Essential for retail.
These are product listings that show up right when people are actively searching to buy something. So if you're selling online, this is definitely key.
Absolutely. Naver shopping search ads are direct. They're to the point. They put your products right in front of users who have a clear intention to buy. It's about being visible at that crucial moment.
Next up, brand search. Imagine someone types your brand name into Naver, say Nike Korea or something.
Yeah.
With brand search, you can basically dominate that entire top section of the results page with a really polished, branded layout.
It looks really premium.
Yeah, it does. And it includes direct links to your important pages, eye-catching visuals, the works.
This is all about controlling your brand narrative when users are specifically looking for you.
Right. Managing that first impression.
Exactly. You want to make sure they find what they need, presented clearly, visually appealing, reinforcing your brand.
Okay. Now, for reaching a wider audience, there are display ads, which live on what Naver calls its display network. These can be your standard banner ads or maybe more seamlessly integrated native ads that appear across Naver's massive network, Think their news sections, popular blogs, those active cafe communities we mentioned.
The real strength of the Never display network is just its sheer reach.
It's huge.
Huge. You can connect with a massive number of users across all sorts of contexts and mindsets. So it's versatile, good for brand awareness, but also for like targeted retargeting campaigns.
And finally, let's talk video. Naver offers video ads through their Smart Channel and Naver TV. These are your typical pre-roll or mid-roll ads that play before or during video content, and they're great for grabbing attention, boosting engagement.
Well, video is just such a compelling way to communicate emotion, right? Show your brand's personality.
Totally.
And these video ad placements on Naver let you tap into a really engaged audience that's actively watching video.
Okay, so that gives you a solid overview of Naver, big player. Now, let's pivot and talk about the other digital powerhouse in Korea, Kakao.
Kakao, yeah.
While Naver is often the starting point for searching, Kakao is all about connection. They're the company behind KakaoTalk,
Which is the messaging app.
essentially the dominant messaging app in Korea. Think WhatsApp, but just on another level entirely.
Yeah.
We're talking over 90% smartphone penetration
It's incredible.
and more than 45 million monthly active users.
That level of market saturation is almost unprecedented, really. KakaoTalk isn't just where people chat. It's become the central communication hub for pretty much everyone in Korea. Daily life runs on it.
But just like Naver is much more than just search, Kakao is way beyond just messaging.
Oh, yeah.
It's a full-blown super app ecosystem.
Mm.
Think Kakao Story, their social network, Kakao Shopping, the Daum portal, which they also run, Melon for music,
Kakao Tea for taxis, Kakao Pay.
right? Kakao Tea, Kakao Pay for mobile payments. They've got a significant presence in pretty much every part of daily digital life there.
And the key thing for advertisers is that all of Kakao's advertising efforts are unified under one platform called Kakao Moment.
Kakao Moment.
That's the central gateway for reaching users across all their different services.
So what kind of ads can you run through Kakao Moment?
Well, not surprisingly, they offer display ads.
Okay.
These can appear across their various properties, Daoyum, Kakao Story, even within KakaoTalk channels. Formats range from standard banners to interactive carousels, native ads that blend in. Lots of options.
So variety there too.
Definitely. The variety lets advertisers tailor their creative to fit the specific context of each Kakao service, engaging users in ways that feel more natural, you know?
One of the really distinctive ad types on Kakao is KakaoTalk channel ads.
Yes, these are quite unique.
These actually get delivered directly within the KakaoTalk chat interface through these things called KakaoTalk channels.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking to re-engage your existing customers or really build brand loyalty, this seems incredibly effective because it reaches them right where they're actively chatting.
The directness of KakaoTalk channel ads can be a game changer, especially for nurturing relationships, because users have chosen to follow these channels.
Right, permission-based.
The messages often feel more relevant and less like an interruption.
Then there's Plus Friend advertising. How's that different from channels?
Okay, so Plus Friend allows brands to create their own official friend pages on KakaoTalk. And here's the powerful part. You can directly send push messages to users who become your friend again with permission.
Ah, okay. So more direct messaging.
Exactly. Think of channels as more public brand pages users subscribe to, while Plus Friend is like building an email list within the app for direct personalized messages. And the open rates, the response rates, they tend to be remarkably high.
Wow.
The personal nature of these friend connections fosters a sense of direct communication. Feels more one-to-one.
Gotcha. And just like Naver, Kakao also offers video ads, I assume.
They do. You'll see these popping up in places like the Kakao Story feed or as in-feed videos within other Kakao services.
So good for visual storytelling, brand awareness.
Exactly. Video is super engaging, great for capturing attention as people scroll through feeds on Kakao's platforms.
And for those who've already shown some interest, retargeting.
Yep, Kakao provides retargeting ads. These let you specifically show ads to users who've previously interacted with your brand somehow across Kakao's services.
Standard practice, but crucial.
Absolutely. It's a great way to bring them back, nudge them towards converting. Retargeting is fundamental for guiding users down the funnel. Re-engaging interested people significantly boosts conversions.
And finally, Kakao really stands out when it comes to audience customization, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. They have incredibly granular targeting capabilities.
Like what?
You can pinpoint your audience based on a huge range of factors: demographics, stated interests, past online behavior within the Kakao ecosystem,
All right.
and even, get this, their offline purchase history.
Wow, offline data too?
Yeah. This very precise targeting, driven by the vast amounts of first-party data Kakao collects, lets advertisers reach incredibly specific, relevant audiences, maximizes efficiency, maximizes impact.
Okay, so with all these different options on both Naver and Kakao, the big question for anyone listening, especially if they're eyeing the Korean market,
Mhm.
is why should we really make these platforms a priority? Why not just stick with Google and Meta?
Well, if we circle back to our initial point about where Korean consumers actually spend their time online, the answer becomes pretty clear. Naver is their primary search engine. It's the first place they go to find information. And KakaoTalk is often the very first app they open when they start their day.
You just can't miss them.
You simply can't effectively reach the majority of the online population in Korea without having a strong presence on these platforms.
Mm.
That local dominance is just undeniable.
Exactly. And it's not just about being where the users are, it's also about how engaged they are there.
Mhm.
Naver's blog and cafe communities, they cultivate real loyalty, real trust. And KakaoTalk ads, because they're direct and often opt-in,
Right.
they can feel less like an intrusion and more like a helpful update from a brand they actually chose to connect with.
And another thing, the power of the first-party data that both Naver and Kakao have.
Yeah,
You can't overstate it.
that offline data point is huge.
It is. They have access to a tremendous amount of information about user preferences, behaviors,
Mhm.
which translates to far more accurate, more effective ad targeting compared to what you might get just relying on global platforms within Korea.
And let's not forget that both platforms have specifically designed their ad products to fit right into the Korean user experience.
Totally. They feel native.
Yeah, whether it's how branded search results look so natural on Naver or how KakaoTalk channel messages arrive right in your chat list, these formats just feel right to Korean users.
They haven't just slapped global ad formats onto the Korean market. They've built these solutions from the ground up with local context and user behavior in mind. That makes a huge difference in how users perceive and interact with the ads.
Okay, to really bring this home, let's consider a specific example. Imagine a company from, say, the US or Europe with an English learning app. They want to break into the Korean market.
Right, competitive space.
Yeah,
A strategic approach wouldn't just rely on Google Ads, given its smaller market share there.
definitely not.
Instead, a savvy company would strategically leverage the strengths of both Naver and Kakao.
Exactly. So on Naver, they might invest in search ads and maybe a brand search campaign to make sure they're visible when people search for language learning apps.
Top of funnel awareness.
Right. And they could also use those power content ads on relevant Naver blogs to maybe showcase positive user reviews, share deeper info about their app in that trustworthy blog format.
And then on the Kakao side, creating a KakaoTalk channel would let them directly engage interested users. Maybe offer free trial invites, provide customer service through one-on-one chats.
Nice, building that relationship.
Yeah. And they could also use retargeting through Kakao Moment, maybe even the Naver Display Network, to re-engage users who visited but didn't sign up right away.
And the kind of results we typically see with this sort of localized strategy.
Well, usually lower costs per acquisition for new users,
Got it.
marketing messages that just resonate better culturally,
Crucial.
and ultimately a higher conversion rate from free trial to paid subscriber.
Makes total sense.
Mhm.
It really underscores the value of, understanding and actually using these dominant local platforms.
It really does.
So if you're listening and thinking, okay, this all makes sense, but how do I actually take the first steps? We've got a few essential tips to get you started.
Okay, yeah. The absolute first thing you need to do is localize everything.
Everything.
Everything. Korean consumers overwhelmingly prefer content in Korean that feels like it was made for them. Avoid direct, often awkward machine translations.
Please avoid those.
Yes. Invest in skilled local copywriters, visuals that resonate culturally, calls to action that feel natural in Korean.
Absolutely crucial. And setting up ad accounts and navigating the rules on these platforms as a foreign company can be tricky.
It can be, yeah.
Okay.
There are hoops to jump through.
So that's why our second key tip is to strongly consider using local agencies or consultants, people who specialize in the Korean digital ad market.
They have the on-the-ground expertise. They can help with account registration, billing, and most importantly, crafting and running campaigns that actually work locally. They know the nuances.
Okay. And tracking results, obviously key everywhere, but especially here.
Oh, absolutely paramount. Make sure you're implementing tools like Never Tag or Kakao Pixel. These help you accurately measure conversions, understand what users do after clicking your ads. Right. And don't forget proper UTM tagging on all your campaign links.
Explain UTMs quickly.
Sure. UTM tags are just little bits of code you add to your ad links. They tell your analytics tools like Google Analytics 4 or Adobe Analytics exactly where your website traffic came from.
So you know which Naver or Kakao campaign drove that visit?
Precisely. So you can see what's actually driving results,
Yeah.
essential for optimization.
Finally, keep in mind that what worked wonders on Google or Meta globally, it might totally bomb in Korea.
Very possible, even likely.
So our last critical piece of advice is to test your ad creatives extensively on both Naver and Kakao.
Test, test, test.
Actively experiment with their different native ad formats. Find out what really grabs attention and resonates with the Korean audience. Don't assume, let the data guide you.
This ongoing cycle testing, analyzing results, refining your creative based on those insights, it's absolutely essential for maximizing your ROI on these platforms.
Okay, so to wrap it all up then, if you're serious about tapping into the huge potential of the South Korean digital market, you simply cannot afford to rely only on Google and Meta.
They're part of the picture globally, but in Korea, they're just not the main players.
Right.
Naver and Kakao aren't just alternative ad platforms in Korea. They are the dominant forces. They shape the entire Korean online experience. They give you access to these rich ecosystems, unique ad formats tailored to local behavior, and connect you with a deeply engaged local audience you might otherwise completely miss.
So for global businesses looking for a real competitive edge in Korea, understanding and strategically using Naver and Kakao is a huge opportunity.
Definitely.
While some might overlook these local giants, you can get a head start, build a real presence with informed, culturally relevant campaigns.
So your strategy for Korea shouldn't just be about translating your existing global campaigns. It needs to be about truly localizing your whole approach.
From the ground up.
From the ground up. It's not just running ads, it's building a genuine presence within these platforms where Korean consumers actually live online.
Yeah.
In Korea, Naver and Kakao aren't just options. They are fundamentally the main stage. The question now for you is, what kind of compelling presence will you build there?